one of my favorite topics, as I know it is for Stephen as well. So, let's just start with, at a very high level. I know purpose is not something new at Intuit, and it does appear that it was very important even pre-COVID. With your powering prosperity around the world. Just to get us started, I would love to have you share your views on purpose in general, and then specifically how it informed, the company pre-COVID. And of course, we'll get to post-COVID.
Absolutely. And everyone can hear me, correct?
Yes, I think I can certainly hear you. So hopefully that goes for everybody. Oh dear, now we can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Perfect.
First off, Kyla, thank you very much for the introduction. Appreciate it. Susan, thank you for the question. And first off, actually, I just want to say, hopefully people who are in these fires right now are safe. It's very foggy where I am, not foggy, it's very cloudy where I am right now, and it's hard to breathe a little bit. So hopefully everyone's staying safe and hopefully taking care. So I just want to start there. Purpose it's interesting. I'm not a liar, so I will start off with purpose drove me to Intuit. When I went through, and as a reminder for people who don't know Intuit too well, we're the proud makers of QuickBooks, TurboTax, and Mint. So we're very involved in finances, very involved in technology. But we've been a purpose-driven company since 1983 when Scott Cook founded the company. He sat at his dining table with his wife, looked at a checkbook and said, there's got to be a better way. And that's how it started. But purpose really is what drove me to it. When I got to look at the company, when I saw its mission, just work its way through the system in everyone that I talked to, it was fantastic. And as a brand marketer, our whole job as brand marketers is to drive connections, deep connections with people, and to have those people want to take an action that, of course, especially if you're in the corporate world, buy something. But it's much easier to do that when you feel good about what the company stands for, not just the products that it makes. So we've been making great products for 40 years, but we've also been doing that with the eye of solving customer problems. So it gives me so much more to work. It gives the company more to work with. It keeps them motivated. It keeps them focused on solving customer problems. And then as a marketer, it just gives you a great foundation to work with, because yes, you want to talk about products and how good they are, but more than anything, you want to talk about brands and the connections that they can drive with communities, with individuals, with customers, and with non-customers.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, how do you feel that that purpose informed the company before COVID? I mean, was it, I guess, a North Star? It sort of informed much of your marketing thinking. Correct? Yeah.
I'll start with, every conversation at Intuit starts with, what's the problem we're trying to solve? What's the insight with the customer? Everyone says that in all of companies, but I've never seen it so prevalent as it is at Intuit. So when you get into a conversation, whether it can be a brainstorm or a literally strategic planning exercise, it's what are we doing to solve a customer problem? What's the insights that's driving this recommendation? And then you go back to, okay, well, then what is our mission? Our mission, as you said, Susan, is to empower prosperity around the world, for everyone around the world. And it's primarily financial prosperity. But that prosperity can be everything from your tax check refund, or it can be saving costs with your small business. As you know, we have consumers, we have small businesses, and self-employed. So really, for decades, the products that we built, the technology that we build it around, how we communicate with our customers, how we get them the checks that they get, is driven by how do we power prosperity and how do we make it easier for them, put some money in their pocket as easy as possible, so that they can go on and live the rest of their life and have confidence with the finances. Because it's interesting, finance is often seen in the world of marketing as a good place to work and sometimes a bad place to work, right? But finances are what kind of the thread that keeps economies moving. And so we feel very good about what we do on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I mean, that's really great to just even hear that sort of cultural anecdote, because I mean, like you, we are big believers in purpose not being something that are just words on a wall.
Yeah.
But actually, actions that are lived and demonstrated every day, and brand action. So, can you give us some examples of how Intuit takes specific actions that bring to life your purpose?
Yep. I mean, I couldn't have been more proud of the company from the top down, from Sasan Goodarzi, our CEO, down to marketing team than what happened after COVID hit. And what happened is immediately we looked at ourselves and said, what can we do to help people through these very tough times? Day one, week one, and now we're in month 6. And the things that we've done runs the gamut. So the marketing campaign that we've been running at Intuit, under Intuit brand, has been largely under the theme of Together We Prosper. So let's first start with some of the work that we've done and promoted. There's a product that was developed within weeks called the Intuit Aid Assist, and it was a website that people could go to, and they could find, are they eligible, for the PPP loans? How do they register for the stimulus package? So that was a product that was created. It was for customers and non-customers because we wanted to make sure that some people didn't get left out. So that product was created. We promoted that product, and it went very, very well. And it continues to run, and we continue to add functionality. So that's a product, and then that's marketing. From a marketing, for other product standpoints, other efforts that aren't marketing related, we did a GoFundMe campaign to help small businesses. We continue to do what we call prosperity pop-ups, where people have the opportunity we highlight small businesses that are still doing well, that we're trying to help as much as possible, and have that come through our business. And we promote that wherever we possibly can. And then the thread of the work that my team is really starting to promote more than anything is under financial guidance, which is, if you're a small business, if you're a consumer, if you're self-employed, if you're unemployed and if you're trying to get on top of your money, you can go to this website, intuit.com/financial tips, and get lessons from other customers within the many, many millions of customers that are Intuit customers.
Yeah, that's so interesting because, I mean, through this over the last few months, we've seen that companies that have like really strong and clear purposes and know what their North Star is were able to immediately take action.
Yeah.
And they knew exactly what to do. Whereas, in other cases, a lot of people, hung back and were on the sidelines because they really didn't know what to do. So this is a perfect example of a company that if you have a clear North Star, you immediately know what to do.
And if you don't mind, if I could jump in there for a second, one of our big things, we do processes called follow me homes. That's not happening right now. That's been the historic term, where everyone is trained to follow customers home and then understand their lives and understand their pain points. Across the board, again, from every time Sasan speaks, our CEO, he says that he's in touch with multiple customers on a daily basis. And that's still happening across the organization. So we continue to engage in conversations however possible to learn from how are they doing, what are their pain points, how can we help them with the current products that we have, and or are there other products that we might be able to develop? And some of them are as basic as communication tools. How do small businesses talk to each other? So we've been working through a bunch of solutions, either expanding on current solutions or coming up with new solutions for our customers, but mainly because of the contact we have with our customers.
Right, that's amazing. Yeah, no, the power of listening is amazing. So I'm going to take a little bit of a turn now. Have you seen differences in how purpose comes to life externally versus internally? I mean, you talked a little bit about the internal just now. How does it work how does it motivate your employees to want to come to work every day? How do they live it no matter what their job is? Not a CEO, not a marketing person.
Mm-hmm.
How does purpose actually activate culture and your employees, particularly during stressful times?
I think I'll take it through a few different lenses, and when you hear, and I don't want to be overly critical of any brand out there, is there a brand trying to highlight their purpose externally now to get credit for having purpose?
Yep.
For decades, we never talked about our purpose externally. Prosperity itself is a very odd word. It means a lot, when you're talking and Sasan is on stage, Laura Balash is on stage, other people are on stage, you can say, hey, our goal is to power prosperity, and you have opportunity to explain it. For many decades, we use it as an internal rallying cry for why we came to work every day. And I think all 10,000 people would not say that they know the mission, but they're acting on the mission. The interesting thing now to the third part of that is there are some brands who are talking about it, for lack of a better term, to get it. We're talking about it because it kind of helps explain some of what we're doing. It allows us to have a thread externally. In some ways, it allows us to, again, finally get credit maybe for a mission that's been internally, but we're also, I don't want to say shy, but we don't love the idea of over promoting our mission on a broad basis because that's not our goal. Our goal isn't for people to be like, oh, they power prosperity. I love them. Our goal is to just deliver it every single day through our products. So it's been an interesting trend and a discussion of how clear do we want to talk about our mission externally. Prosperity is a long-term vision. Right now, people are in very short-term pains. So we have to be very careful with language. Words matter. We have to be very careful that we're not trying to promote ourselves so that people who maybe didn't know us before feel good just about our mission. We still have to pay it off with good action. So I think it's that constant balance of not only what do you believe, the thing we talk about all the time is don't just say what you believe, say what you do. And so we try to promote our actions. And if at the end of our actions, people say, wow, they're doing good in the world, then we feel good about it versus us saying we believe in good in the world.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Do something, then talk about it.
Exactly.
It's funny because it's such a, some people often confuse being purpose driven with doing some CSR.
Yeah.
And I think as you've just talked about, like purpose is at the heart of the business model. And that's where it really, is effective and it works. So it really sounds like, Intuit for a long time has really understood and lived that it works when it's at the heart, really the heart of how you.
But it's so interesting. When I first joined, they were in the midst of a basically CSR-driven campaign, and so I'm going to sound like I contradict myself or talking out of both sides. Is I joined the company because of its mission. Our immediate campaign was a CSR campaign under the idea of Together We Prosper and the prosperity hubs that we hopefully can talk about. But I also said, I don't want this brand to be just about CSR. Like, I didn't come to be a CSR brand marketer. I came to promote the value that we do through our products, through our services, through everything. So you're absolutely right is, we don't want to just do CSR. We want to show threads, but we want to celebrate who we are and what we're trying to accomplish for the world.
Yeah. Well, actually, I fully intended my next question to be about the prosperity hubs. So tell us a little bit about them, and then I'm going to I will have a follow-up question about, I think they're sort of foreshadowing maybe the future of purpose and Purpose 2.0. So, but first for everyone, if you could just tell us a little bit more about your prosperity hubs.
Yeah, there are a handful. Right now, I think they're in 7 cities in the US and Canada, where we go into a city, we help with job creation, we help with financial management, financial tools. And we do that because we just feel like these are the communities that are the ones that drive our business. And then the more that we can invest in those communities. So we call them prosperity hubs. Right. So far, I think the statistics, and I've got a couple right here, is we've created 2,200 jobs in 7 communities. We have a goal of increasing that number to 7,000 by 2025. So that's job creation. But more importantly, as importantly, is we're trying to help people prepare for other jobs. So not only are the jobs we're creating, but we believe that we've given 150,000 people, statistics show, better tools to go out and find jobs. And of course, we want to expand that into the future. The interesting thing is we're also trying to figure out how to go virtually, right? So how do we not only, go in, build a building, bring some people in, teach them financial skills, help them work for Intuit, and then or get other jobs, but how do we do that virtually? So that's one of the things we're really trying to transition to. How do we do it, in person as well as virtually? But we feel these are things that we've been doing for multiple years. We've seen great success. We felt very good about our investment in the communities. We feel very good about the job creation, and we're going to continue to do it. It's good for the economy. It's good for our business, but more importantly, it's good for the world.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's awesome. And that actually starts, I think, to answer the, question as we talk about, the future of purpose, like what's Purpose 2.0, beyond even actions. We talk a lot about impact and actually measuring impact. And it sounds like, what you're doing with the prosperity hubs is you are actually beginning to measure the impact and making a difference. So, beyond just that, are there other thoughts you all have had in terms of how to measure impact going forward?
Yeah. So to expand a little bit on where you were going, as far as we have some things called True North goals, and some of the statistics I said, and of course there's others. What is the impact we're having on communities? How are we doing in the world of job creation? How are we doing in the world of job preparation? So those are some of the different ways we measure. We want to make sure that the money we're putting into it and the resources is having an impact. From a brand standpoint, our focus has been on reputation, which is really interesting. I was raised under the brand equity and health measurement, right? Are you relevant? Are you unique? Do people see you as differentiating and things like that? And I still believe in those studies. Those are very powerful studies, brand health, brand equity. But we've decided more to focus on brand reputation. And it goes back to one of my earlier statements of emotional connection. So can you measure, which we can through a partner that we work with, if you can measure your brand reputation, we have fundamental studies that also shows that that can impact your business. So it's the emotional connection that people have with you because of, do they think your products and services are good? I mean, it starts with that. Do they get value out of your products and services? Do they think you're innovative? Do they think you have good leadership? Do they think you have good corporate responsibility? Do they think you have good workplace? So it really starts to expand beyond just the product driven brand values and brand equity into the company driven products and services innovation and what you stand for in this world. And then it feeds back to data that we get that says, are we moving the needle in our reputation, with the belief that that will also move our business.
Yeah, that's terrific. It's really interesting. Particularly since a number of those things relate to almost corporate character.
Yes.
And the shadow of the tree of corporate character. So,
but it's interesting. We've got a publicly stated bold. We have 3 publicly stated bold goals that go to Wall Street that talk about what we're doing for small businesses, what we're doing for in consumer savings, and what we're doing in the world of building brand reputation. So we feel that positive about those 3 areas, and that doing good in the world is something that that our investors care about, and that will impact our business.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the more, and Larry Fink talks about it every day, right? In terms of, how BlackRock looks at their investments. So
it's fantastic. That's music to my ears when someone that sits on top of that much money is talking about utilizing their dollars with the best investments. Yeah,
absolutely. So just again, another angle on purpose that might interest, I'm sure people would love to hear about from you. At the end of the day, your customers judge you by how they experience you, by real customer experience, not what you say. So certainly you're doing lots of great actions, but how do you make sure that, sort of your everyday marketing stays as authentic as possible?
Yeah. I mean, well, one, we try. We most often only use, or not, we most often use in our advertising, right? When you see someone using the product, obviously there's things that we do in TurboTax, things that we do in QuickBooks, where we might promote the value proposition into a certain degree. But as often as possible, if it's supposed to be a customer, it is a customer. So number one is our authenticity comes from the fact that it's our customers that are online, not actors talking about the value that they're getting. So from a marketing standpoint, that's that. The next step is our value proposition. In a world of marketing where you can always be, your message can be a little step ahead of where your product is right now. We talk about, all the goofy terms of reasons to believe, but our reasons to believe have to be embedded in our marketing. So we only speak what we can deliver on right now, how that ladders to more money in your pocket, easier, less time spent managing your finances, or more confidence in managing your finances. I kind of just gave a quick nod to TurboTax, QuickBooks, and Mint, our 3 products, but we want to make sure that if we're telling someone to engage with these products, that the insights that we're using in that marketing, the pain points that we're talking about in that marketing are real pain points, are real insights. And then when they start to use the products, they're going to experience a product that is exactly what they saw and was marketing through the value proposition work that we do.
Yeah, no, that's great. I know real small business owners are so much more interesting, actually, than anything you could make up or cast for. So, that's really great.
I saw 4 videos this morning of what the pain points that people have because of COVID, because of the financial situation the downturn that we're in right now, and that messaging is what's going to trade into our financial guidance work that should be coming out in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's amazing. Has there ever been a time when, like, there's been some misses or some gaps where you feel like you did some things, or that was not aligned with the purpose, or somehow the purpose sent you to a wrong place? Like, was there anything that you learned from that could be helpful for everyone else to hear about?
I mean, I don't know if I would call it a miss, but let's say it's just a lens that we're working through, which is a combination of, we are in very tough times, but they're also changing every single day. We want to make sure that the message put out is relevant for today, but also for tomorrow. We don't want to make it look like we're overreacting, but we should be overreacting because these are very hard times. But I guess my message is this, as much as anything, is in a world where mission-driven, purpose-driven marketing is often about the future, we very quickly realized, that messaging, which we always knew from my earlier point, that prosperity is a hard message. It's a hard word to communicate externally. Some people aren't looking a month down the road. Some people aren't looking 3 months down the road. Whereas we might be often, talking about the promise of, and or how do we help you get to the next level, or, to the next day is really, we need to, hanker down and talk about today. So I guess as much as anything is, even though mission is something, mission and vision is a little bit more long-term, internal, communicating that externally might not resonate at a time where people are just looking, how do they survive the day? How do they survive the week? How do they survive the month? And so I wouldn't say we had a miss, but we very quickly had to check ourselves to make sure that what seemed visionary is more about less visionary and more about today.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my build on that, which is, what have you learned through this time in terms of, keeping your purpose, meaningful and relevant? And has it given you any ideas about how you need to maybe evolve it a little bit? I mean, the focus on the now is really interesting. But do you feel like you might make any adjustments in terms of how you look at your purpose going forward, or how do you make it, meaningful and relevant? Like, or is there like a what's next off of this?
I think, one of the things we're talking about is, well, one, it's the age old, don't talk about your mission if your products can't pay it off, right? I mean, ultimately, even if we don't use the word TurboTax or QuickBooks or Mint in our messaging, those who know that those products come from Intuit, if they don't feel as though this purpose that we're talking about is somehow connected to those products, it all falls apart. So that's kind of step one. Step two is, in a world where one of the products I mentioned earlier, Intuit Aid Assist, was a cross-company effort, not delivered through any one, segment group or any one business. I guess what the key is, where can we work as a company to try to connect the back end of a lot of these products? So we're doing a lot in the world of technology that will allow us to hopefully do more from a business value and extract, in a conversation standpoint with our current customers, that will allow us to talk about Intuit and the connection with those brands, both from a what those brands and those products do on a day-to-day basis, as well as behind the scenes, how do you get more value from them? And that could be from the technology, that could be from our live offerings. We have people that you can talk to about your taxes, that you can talk to about your financial accounting. So really what we're trying to do is, as much as anything, the shorthand of that is not just talk about the now, but talk about the connection behind the scenes with the businesses, or even within the businesses, so that people can get more value across the products, not just individual product at a time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We use the word platform a lot, and platform is a very interesting word in business as well as in marketing. But the more that we can connect the platform and get more value to customers more quickly, that's what we're trying to do, and not connect to our vision.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Here's a personal question. What purpose brands do you admire, and who do you draw inspiration from? I guess that's not that personal. It's okay.
Yeah, it's personal in the sense that, I spent 14 years, as Kayla said, at Visa. And I'll go to the dark side of Visa. Is many people around the world, and I worked in 3 different countries for them, if you say, what is Visa? They're going to say a credit card company. And they weren't. They're the financial processor behind electronic payments. So it was very interesting, because the reason I stayed at Visa is because their job, their mission was to be the best way to pay for everyone everywhere. And they raised all boats. They raised economies. And so I really appreciated by the fact that easier transactions, easier way to pay does good for the world. So, the reason I went to that part about credit cards is they're not a credit card. Nothing wrong with credit card companies. Those are financial tools that people need. But the value of Visa was because they could connect payment systems and make it easier to transact and exchange value. So I really admired the brand, and I really admired my time at that company. Another company is Microsoft. I mean, it's kind of a safe thing to say, but they've also been around for 4 or 5 decades, and they've been crushing it, not just in their introduction of new products, but just what they stand for. And I think they continue to evolve their business. They can be in gaming, they can be in basic communications, or they can be, your technology system on your computer. But I just think they've done a very good job of, every day, putting out great products that make it easier to do your job and easier to communicate. and have some fun. But still somehow they all make sense together, because there are some times where, you put a brand over here because it doesn't relate to the broader business, but I can completely see how Windows connects to Xbox. I completely do, and I think the fact that they can have a brand, a master brand behind a gaming console, as well as, what you do on your computer with Word and Excel, I think they're pretty impressive. So I enjoyed my time at Visa. I enjoyed the vision and the mission they had and how they drove that through their products and their communications. And I've just always admired from the outside. And I know a few friends at Microsoft also, what they do on a day-to-day basis.
Cool. Well, that's great. I'm going to have one last question, and then I'm going to take some questions from the audience. You sort of alluding to it a little bit just now. Like, what advice do you have for fellow marketers that are sort of grappling with, brand level purpose versus corporate purpose, and sort of how are those different, and how do you put all that together?
I think, Intuit is a corporate brand. It is, it is the founding company. It is the company that you go work for. It is the stock that you might invest in. It's what you wear on your shirt if you go to work, and you're very proud to work on it. So I don't want to say it's easier, but there's more value, or you can see the purpose of it, talking about purpose driven for a corporate brand. But, whereas the TurboTax, QuickBooks, and Mint products, they're trying to engage with their consumer, get increased engagement, and then of course in a corporate world and a for-profit world, trying to get people to pay for those products. You want to find that thread. I think in today's world, let's go to cars, where people want to buy the best car at the best price that does does everything they want. If they feel as though that behind that product is a brand that has value, I believe you're going to have better engagement. I'm going to believe you're going to have more sales. I think you're going to have more long-term value. So I think the lifetime value of a customer who buys a product, not because it just delivers great rational value proposition, but it connects to that purpose. So I think the key thing that we're working on, and it's not easy, is when TurboTax is doing what they're trying to do for their customers, which they do very, very well, while also somehow connecting it to the purpose that is Intuit. I think that's the hard work, but that's also the magic that is created. So I think I would start with the corporate brand and think about how you connect to the product or kind of brands that are really driving the revenues.
Mm-hmm. It's really a great answer. Now we have some questions from the audience. So let's see. Oh, this is an interesting one. How has your leadership style changed over the past? Have you been able to develop more personal relationships with your colleagues?
I've always hopefully practiced and believed that, good management starts with a trusting relationship between the manager and the person on the team, right? If they know that you've got their back, you care about their development, you want them to learn, and you want them to do the best work of their life, that's good management. It's good leadership. In some ways, obviously, it's a lot harder. I'm very personable. I like to sit in rooms. I like to look someone in the eye, and I like to get physically close when allowable and when safe. That's impossible right now. But what we've done is, my team, in an interesting way, because it's virtual, has found ways to connect that we never would before. We do a weekly challenge, and it's everything from what's your favorite place you've ever, visited? What's the first car that you had? We do all these different things, and we're learning about each other, that things that we would never have learned in a corporate environment. And so I think more than anything is where I've always asked the question, how are you doing? How is your family? It's even more importantly now, how are you managing through these times? Having that conversation first, but then also finding other fun ways to engage and to learn about each other. And I know more about my team than I ever did before. I know a woman on my team had a 1994 Ford Aerostar, green. That was her first car, where she would use to change for soccer, to change for in her job at the Red Lobster. And so now I know what her first job was. Now I know what sport she played in high school, and now I know what her first car was. And so it's just kind of that fun little thing. And the fact that she's willing to share that information, and then I hopefully can retain it. It deepens the relationship a lot. So but you got to take the time, and virtually it's harder, but it's more important than ever to take the time to get to know your team.
Yeah, no, that's really resonates. Here's another question. Okay, so referring to purpose marketing, what, in your opinion, are the best channels for brands to communicate with consumers? How can they resonate with people in an authentic, genuine way? Well, we talked about that second one, but a bit. The question, I guess, is really, what do you think the best channels are for brands to communicate?
Yeah, I think, I mean, and I listened to Alan, the person from Church's Chicken before, and he answered social, and I would say wherever there's a way to have a two-way dialogue. You know, I believe in the power of the megaphone that is TV. That's a one-way channel, right? It's the megaphone. It gets your message out. It drives your awareness, which is important to us. It drives familiarity with what your products are and what your brand is, but it doesn't allow for that two-way conversation. You know, so whether it's our websites where people can go and learn, you know, the blog that I talked about, the financial tips one, or it's through social. So the majority of the marketing of the Intuit brand is on social channels. And it's as much as the fact that, you know, besides the fact that right now more people are spending 30, 40, 50% more time online than they were before, we just feel like it's mainly because of the two-way dialogue that is possible.
Okay, interesting. Okay, here's another question. As leaders, you are always developing your abilities. What skills would you like your marketing team to develop this year?
I think it's really interesting. And Kayla alluded to my time at ANZ Bank is, I'm going to answer this in a not long, but slightly roundabout way, is some of my favorite time at ANZ Bank was when you pull the lever to put a message into market through a certain channel and hoped you would get a response of either someone applying for a credit card, taking out a personal loan, or whatever it was that I was doing at the time. That's performance-driven marketing. And in the world of brand marketing, it's a little bit harder to know what's the impact that you have tomorrow. And I'm trying to work with myself and my team to find that middle ground. Is, you know, I don't want to just do brand marketing that is purpose-driven marketing, and then once a quarter you get a result that says, hey, guess what? People love you more than they did a day ago. Okay, that's nice. But in a world of, we still need to drive value and we still need to grow the business, we need to figure out ways from a performance marketing standpoint, from a technology standpoint, is, are people getting our message tomorrow? Are they thinking differently about Intuit than they did before? Are they thinking differently about our other brands, QuickBooks, TurboTax, and Mint? And are they likely to take action? And so what we're trying to do is thread the needle of, you know, brand marketing and reputation building with performance marketing to say, how do you drive action tomorrow? So we're trying to find that middle ground, and so we can be more responsive in our own work, but also show business driving value.
Really, really interesting. How about how important are partnerships to what you do, and how do you think about, you know, partnerships?
Yeah. Partnerships, I mean, they're incredibly important and they're incredibly hard because you got to think about what's the value. Intuit, as I've alluded a couple of times, we don't have a lot of awareness as a brand. People know our product brands very, very well. Not a lot of people know Intuit at this stage, or at least as a, you know, kind of a product-driven, mission-driven company. So partnerships can help you know that, you know, I was watching a soccer game yesterday, you know, and part of me was like, oh, there's a good partnership there. We could put our name on a jersey. Okay, for value one. But really, you know, if you go back to, you know, the dollar spent to promote a partnership, to promote prosperity, and to get another dollar in someone's pocket, to make it a little bit easier to make that dollar and or get them more financial confidence, you have to be with partners that live and breathe that same idea. And so, you know, as much as there's means that we will use to build awareness and familiarity, I don't think we'll take action, you know, with a partner if we don't also believe that they have a very similar mission to hopefully, you know, in the world of financial management, help their customers.
No, shared. Yeah, it sounds like shared values is going to be one of the
they might be able to deliver in spades against one of our key outcome metrics. But if they don't have that shared value, it'd be very hard for me to want to partner with that group.
That's great. Well, I think I have one more. I think it looks like one more audience question. What trends in consumer behavior are of particular importance to you now? And how are they consuming media differently? Actually, sort of two very different questions. It's really, what trends in consumer behavior are of particular importance to you now?
I mean, I think I'm going to go back to the core. Well, interest to me, but also interest to the company, which is some combination of, I mean, it feels so cliche to say e-commerce, but electronic commerce is exploding because people aren't able to go out to the stores as much as they were before. So that's number one. But then there's financial management. And I think, a lot of people, slash maybe 100% of people are saying, what is my financial state? How do I ensure that I'm where I need to be? Or how do I ensure that I'm on the path where I need to be? So I think, and a lot of that is happening digitally. And so I think people are, both shopping and buying and exchanging value in ways that they never did before, or in ways that they didn't do it as much before, but also managing their finances. I think those two things are going to come really, really, really close together. I think everyone says they want that one-stop shop of they see where the money's going out and they see where that money's coming in. That might not be 100% true. I think most people and insights show that they like to have it in slightly different places, but they still want that one lens. They don't want to have to be going to 20 different sites to not only buy things, but also understand their current financial situation. So the shorthand of that is commerce and finances. We knew it was changing the last decade, and I think it's going to accelerate by light years because of what's going on right now.
It also feels like sort of there's like new needs and new feelings have emerged.
Yes.
That weren't there before. So that really actually creates an opportunity for different ways of thinking about products and services and support and help that maybe builds more resilience into the future, or builds,
absolutely,
builds more strength. So
there's still going to be a largely huge human element to it, but there's going to be a huge technology element, and it's going to have to solve some of those needs, like you said, or those concerns that we didn't know of 6 months ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I see Kyla, so I think that's my...
Is that the signal?
But anyway, Steve, it's such a pleasure.
Enjoyed it, Susan. Thank you so much.
It was terrific. Kyla, I think you're going to wrap us up, right?
Thank you. Thanks, Stephen. Thanks, Susan. Stephen, I actually really loved your point about measurement and kind of the focus or pivot on that. And do you think that was hard to, particularly for purpose-driven brands? Sometimes I don't think that there's alignment between sort of, the vision and then how you're then measured against that. Was that difficult to sort of navigate internally or pivot to that focus of reputation?
I don't think it was necessarily hard, except for the fact that, the traditional brand metrics are ones that are either lagging,
right,
or slow in moving, or not measured that often. Whereas direct marketing and performance marketing are the numbers that you see every single day. And so I think, if you challenge people to say, hey, we're going to build a brand, but we want to show that it has value to people and value to businesses, and we need to show it on a more rapid form, that is challenging. So I don't think anyone disagreed with that theme or that principle. It was just like, but I'm used to talking to vendor X, I won't name names, and they'll come back in 3 months and say whether or not brand love went up 2% or down 2%. You're like, what is that a correlation? Is that a correlation, a causation? Or is it a leading, or is it a lagging? And then you start to blow mine. So it was easy question, very hard answer.
Yeah. No, that's great. No, thank you so much for today. It was an absolute pleasure to have you on board. And Susan, great job as always as moderating. I think it was a really great way to end out the session, and lots and lots of really interesting sort of consistent themes in your conversation that we've heard sort of throughout the session as well today. Honesty, authenticity, transparency, being true to your values. And I think, Stephen, you and actually Harriet both mentioned this, what you do is more important than what you say, and the notion around that. So
yeah, we won't even allow our internal documents to say we believe in. I believe in love and happiness. I have my entire life. That doesn't mean I'm, hopefully doing something positive about it also.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks, Stephen. But no, all in all, great advice for, purpose-driven brands. But, as I said earlier and a few times today throughout this afternoon, it's really great advice for all brands, really. It's a great foundation. So thanks, everyone. Thanks to all the, special thanks to the speakers and moderators for today. Hope you will join us again for our next Brand Innovator Livecast tomorrow is 1 p.m. ET. It's on digital marketing innovation. We will be joined by leaders from McCormack, Cricket Wireless, Marcus Hotels, and more. So another great session for tomorrow, so be sure to tune in. So thanks everyone for joining. Have a great rest of your day and week. See you again.